Hi, everyone. We're back. That's right. I'm saying we're back. Stephen Kennedy and I. So, um, I think Stephen's going to be, I know I keep saying that every week, but I'm pretty convinced that he's going to be a mainstay on the podcast. So, look for a new logo, look for some adjustments. This is episode 13. Um, feedback. Please leave us reviews. Please leave us reviews. Um, and subscribe and follow the podcast. This week we're talking about lots about AI. There's some pretty interesting stuff. I even had another clip, so starting to incorporate that into the podcast. And Steven is talking about some crazy app, and get to hear my in the moment reaction. So, as always, we thank you for joining us and listening to us every week. And just as I always say, sit back, relax, and enjoy the conversation. This is Robbie from Miscellaneous Candor, frank, honest, and otherwise outspoken. All right, here we go. Welcome back, everybody. This is Robbie from Miscellaneous Candor, frank, honest, and otherwise outspoken.
And this is Stephen Kennedy, your number one board certified atheist. Why do you find that funny, Robbie? I don't get it.
Because I
What?
mean,
What?
does
Why are you
that have
hating
to
on
be?
atheists? Why are you hating on atheists?
I'm not hating in
Okay.
particular on atheists. Obviously, I have a different perspective on it given my faith, but that's not what we're talking about. It's
Hey,
just like we just want to
one of these
lead on
days I'm gonna bring you over to my side, Robbie. That's my goal. That's what I want to achieve throughout this podcast. That's.
Well, you know what the great part about life is?
Tell me.
It's good to always have goals.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Okay, people. So it's myself and Steven. I think I mentioned that maybe we were going to try to have another guest, but we're rolling with Steven and I, him being our routine special guest host and our
That's what
banter. So, one of the things I will say to everyone, and you may have picked this up, not sure, but when we do have guests, we actually allow them to use pseudonyms. So that way, if they feel like they want to say some things, it does make it a little bit more difficult for people to know who they are. And the reason why we do that is just because, people have lives and not everybody can just get on a podcast or say things and just give their opinions and think that there's not going to be any sort of repercussions because we've seen that. So if you ever decide to become a guest in the future, if we ever have guests, perhaps we'll have somebody who is well known but just have a pseudonym, right? That would be a good goal for us to have, right, Stephen?
That would be a very nice goal for us to have.
That
Um,
would be. That would
I,
be, I think so.
and I view this forum as a very like a comfort zone for people. You use a pseudonym. Come on, let's talk about your true feelings about life.
Yes, well, we do.
That's
Obviously,
that's
we do have a little bit of structure. Well, I try
judge-free
to.
zone. Yeah, a little bit of structure. A judge-free zone. Even though Robbie judges me once in a while, that's okay. She won't judge our guests.
This is true. You know what? I'm just going to say, yes, this is true. All right, people, let's jump in. All right, so this is a combination. Obviously, I listened to a lot of podcasts this week, but I'm going to play a clip from a podcast I listened to, and it's from Meredith Whittaker, and evidently she's like the head of a nonprofit called Signal AI, and they do encryption for WhatsApp. In fact, they are the top encryption software, as I understand, where they really don't track anything from you. So everything's encrypted. They can't see what you're saying, how you're talking, or anything. I think you could download Signal and use it to as a way to communicate with people, but it's totally like blind. And I thought that was really cool because there is more of a push these days for privacy. But in combination with this podcast clip from On with Kara Swisher, and she was introducing or interviewing Meredith Whittaker. Um, Always want to give credit when we use these clips, even though they're out in the public space. Is that she really broke down AI. So for people who listen to this, we try to talk about how AI is going to affect the everyday person, not in a way that it's totally out of reach or seems like it's something that is just, out there and it's being said and you're like, well, I can't really deal with this right now. I have to deal with my day to day and what I have to do, go to work, pay my bills, get my kids to school, whatever is happening in your life, whether you have kids or not, you just have to get to school. So I thought that this was a really good breakdown of AI. So I'm going to play this clip and
Nice.
then we can talk about it, Stephen.
That into the AI conversation and recognize that AI has not introduced any new software libraries or new hardware. This is all stuff we've had in the past that we know about that exists. This is not novel. What is novel is this massive amount of data and the way that it's being used to sort of train these statistical models that can then be applied in one way or another. So what happens then?
What do you think about that, Stephen? I thought that was a really good synopsis of what it is, that it's not really new. I mean, some people know that, but not everybody knows that, just the way it's being portrayed.
Yeah, yeah, I guess that's a good point. Is that I think a lot of people would, it sounds to them like this is AI has the ability to create new discoveries and create new extrapolations of information, where rather it's just gathering data and making it readily available at your fingertips.
Yes, and she talked about more in the podcast about how many of the things that are creating what we're using in GPTs and AI are things that were created as early as like far back as like the 80s, which is crazy. Like even some of the algorithms and things like that, going back to the 80s, early 90s, like that's so crazy to think about when we think about how forward we're talking about AI is this and it's going to change these things. Now, I'm not going to sit up here and say that it's not because I do look at um, AI and I feel like everybody does need to start to learn and understand what's happening. Stephen, it looks like it says that you have a slow internet connection. Oh, that just disappeared. So maybe you don't need more. So I think that it's good for people to know about it and to learn it, but to also to know that they can know about it and can learn it because it's nothing that's necessarily new. It's a lot of things that have been put together, and the data that we continue to capture from people is what's making it a lot more powerful. I thought
Yeah,
that was really interesting.
yeah, it's a good synopsis. But there's so many people out there that they're not in their lives are not in that realm, right? So
Hmm.
it's great to have a simple synopsis for people to understand like that.
Exactly. And I thought it was interesting too. I found out, well, I heard, we talked about the robots last week. And to your point, Stephen, you said that this is probably going to be, a lot of flash. Evidently, the robots that Elon Musk was demonstrating in his earnings event, people in the audience were utilizing remote controls to make them work. So they were not.
This is not this does not surprise me at all. I mean, look, he's Elon Musk is he's very good at a few things, but let's not forget he is a human being. When he starts throwing his magical wand all around the place and creating these ridiculously amazing products, you have to start to question, is this stuff real, or is it him trying to pump up the stocks that he's invested in components and different technologies that will go towards his robots, for his imaginary robots, right? you know he's going to put out a fake product, and what he's doing, he's got his money invested in different stocks for different technologies, and that would be applied to these robots, and all of a sudden it's going to pump up the stock. He's going to make a shitload of money, and he's going to leave everyone else in the dust when the stock tanks, when people realize, poof, his products don't actually exist.
I think it's interesting that you say that because on another podcast I was listening to, they were talking about the market implications for that and just how, like at car shows, if people go to car shows, a lot of car show cars, many of them are concept cars. So
Yeah,
they're created for the show, but they're not going to be really put in production. And that's what
those
they were
cars
saying
never
about.
make it to production.
That's what they were saying about the whole robo taxi, the
Yeah,
autonomous taxi too, is that this was really a concept car for this presentation. And evidently, the analysts who covered Tesla picked up on that too, because Tesla actually has gone down since that presentation. Its stock. On the other hand, got to give it to Elon for this, is SpaceX. I mean, there was a really successful launch, really successful mission with one of his rockets. So it just seems like
yeah,
there's definitely more focus on that, and particularly the election. I also read something about how he's spinning
yeah.
up these
He's
companies called United States of America Inc. and something America LLC. I'm like, what is that going to be?
what is this about?
Yeah, I don't know, but they found it. They found it. They being like people who were doing investigative research, that he'd spun up these business entities.
This guy, yeah, and he's so so many things he does are motivated by the election, him trying to get Trump elected. Did you see he's giving away he's having people sign a petition for the First and Second Amendments, and he's saying, sign my petition and you have a chance to win $1 million. So every day he's giving away $1 million to one lucky person that signed his petition. And basically they collect data from all these people because they have to include, their personal information. And it's for free speech and for gun rights. So they collect data on these people through this petition, and then they have more people they can contact to convince them to vote Republican. So people sign up on this petition saying, I support free speech and gun rights. They provide their personal contact information, thus allowing them a chance to win $1 million from Elon Musk daily. And Elon Musk then gets a shitload of contact information for potential Trump voters. I mean, this is just it's completely
But
absurd.
here's my thing though. Has anyone got any money?
Yeah, yeah,
No, has he really given money out? Because
yes,
he's
yeah.
notorious for not
Now,
giving money.
yeah, he has, but to your point, do we really know if this is just a fake? It's a fake. He's giving fake. He's announcing someone that's already set up to that's set up in advance to say, oh yeah, I won $1 million from Elon Musk. In the meantime, he's probably maybe he's just getting a few thousand payoff from Elon Musk. You never know. This could be all staged. You're right.
I mean, here's my thing. You know me. I'm a little different from you. You have hard opinions, frank, honest, otherwise unspoken. And I see that. I try to keep a balanced perspective on Elon, like the whole remote control robots thing. I was just like, wow, dude, really? But at the same time, you could look at SpaceX, and he did
Yeah.
create, I mean, he was a part of, I should say, because he wasn't the original creator, but he was a part of making Tesla what it is today. And that was a
Yes.
huge change in terms of how we look at cars. So,
Yeah.
as out there as he can be sometimes. I mean, those are his personal things that he does. on his own time. There's a lot that he has given, and I see why people, I can understand why people do follow him. I don't like the fact that he hasn't seen his kids, but I also too um, recognize all of the stuff that he's provided to the world, and I think that there's a balance there for
Yeah, I
whatever
mean,
it's worth.
yeah, yeah. Electric cars, he's provided us a step in the right direction. It's a movement. It's a
Absolutely,
long term. Is it a success right now? No, but it's a step towards something that we have to look forward to.
for sure, for sure. So yeah, it's like we actually kind of tackled podcasts and AI
Did we? Oh,
together. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, because we talked
Incredible, incredible.
about. Oh God, Stephen. Okay, Stephen, you said that. So, audience, I don't know what's going to happen next. Okay, and I say
No,
this because Stephen told me that he wanted to talk about this subject, and I said, don't even let's not even prep on this because I want to have my real expression and reaction to what he's going to talk about. So go
so
ahead, Stephen.
yeah, I came across an article recently about a dating app. It's actually a sex app. I guess you could call it a dating/sex app. It's called Field. Feeld. Get it? Field. Like what I'm talking about, right, Robbie? You get it?
I'm
Okay.
listening.
Right.
I'm listening.
So it's a location-based online dating application. All right. So it's a dating app, and it's described as facilitating communication between people interested in ethical non-monogamy, polyamory, casual sex, kink, swing, and other alternate relationship models and sexual preferences. And I think, I was reading about this and I think it's a great app. Right now, with the world being so crazy, right? People out there being psychopaths that'll chop you up if they go, if you don't know them, maybe someone, there's so many crazy things going on out there. Um, and there are different sex meetup apps, right? But they're just purely transactional. They're not about getting to know people and kind of getting comfortable with them. And I feel like this app, which I haven't tried, but I think it's an interesting app that kind of takes you into that place that isn't touched upon where you can get to know people and date them, but it's focused on sex, right? So you go in there, what it's about. You're not. It's not about dating. It's not about relationships. It's about kinky fucking. Hello.
Okay, so
Yeah, and there are
oh
different
my God. Okay, so am I going to respond? You want to keep talking? Because I'm
yeah, I
just
want
going to
to
let you keep
just,
talking.
just for a second, just
Go
for a second. So,
ahead. Keep
you
going.
can select different sexual configurations, so you can identify yourself, or you can identify yourself as looking for male, female, 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 male, male, um, female, female, male, 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 female, male, female, male, 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 female, male, female. So you can have all sorts of different preferences out there, and you can connect with like-minded people in a more casual, comfortable setting. And they even offer different in-person events where you can meet like-minded people. So I think it's pretty cool. What do you think, Robbie? Would you if you were single, would you check out this app? Or yeah, so my mistake. Even you actually are in a relationship. Would you and your significant other ever consider checking out this app, participating in this app?
Well, first of all, I'm really not in a relationship right now. I'll be clear on that.
Oh, okay.
Um,
It's clearly a lot. I have to catch up with you on that.
yeah, we don't
Wow.
talk
Okay.
about my personal
Okay.
situation, and
Okay.
I'm not talking about it
Right. Okay.
on here.
Next
Uh,
session.
but but what I do want to say is no, not next session. I'm not talking about that. Period.
Okay.
So I wish for anyone who is listening to this who knows me, I wish you could see my face. That's all I'm going to say. I wish you could see my face. I
I'm
don't even
asking
know
you
what to
because
say about this. I think this is, do you know what I think? I think this is freaking crazy. I feel like this is another one of these apps.
Uh-huh.
Again, it's just another way for people not to have a real conversation, not to talk to each other, put them up a wall, having all this stuff that's like inauthentic and like not real to try to create something that is authentic and real. I don't get that workflow. It drives me crazy when it comes particularly to personal relationships. Now the whole sex thing, okay, I mean like, okay, you just said what you said was totally contradictory. You said this gives you a really nice place if you're just wanting to have sex and you're wanting to be in the kink and you just want to, you know, the F word, blah 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 blah, right?
But you know,
And no, I'm not.
oh,
You
sorry,
got to
my
go.
apologies,
I'm still
my
yes, yeah.
apologies.
But then you say, but this gives you an opportunity to get to know them and you know not date, but get to know them and make it safe. It's not. How do you know it's safe? How do you know that the people who are not going to get on this are not going to be meeting you to chop you up? You don't know that.
You're right. You're right. But you know, so the difference is that you've got these other apps that are purely about let's meet and fuck. You know, and I think there's a lot of people out there that want to meet and fuck, but are not comfortable with the that kind of setup because number one, it's not always safe, and number two, it's just it's not easy to just meet up and fuck, right? You want to kind of get to know someone, and you want yourself, you want that person that you're meeting up with to know what your intention is, and you want to know their intention if you both are intending to have sex. But let's take the edge off it. Let's make it a more comfortable setting. And when we're talking about swingers, or one woman and however many guys she wants, or one guy and however many women he wants. I might actually try this app.
So this is just okay. So first of all, audience, I guess this is a conversation around technology and AI to help link
Right, I
you up.
totally skipped on that. Yes, technology. Yes, yeah,
Okay, all right. I just want to make sure we're still keeping
yeah.
with the thread of the
Right.
conversation we like to have on here. Okay, there's that. But secondly, I mean,
So you're saying
I
you wouldn't try this? You don't think it's a good idea? You wouldn't try it?
absolutely not. I wouldn't try this. No, because this is just not how I get down. This is not how I no, no,
Okay. I mean,
no. I have no
now is this
interest,
is this is this
no interest
purely
in it.
because you feel that it's unsafe, or it's not something you would like to do?
Okay, so we've already had this conversation. Hold on a second. Just need to make sure I can talk. So we've already had the conversation about you know, I am a person of faith. I've mentioned that once. I don't like to have this conversation a lot on the podcast because I don't think that really is relevant to the conversation that we have with our guests. But it's a part of who I am, period. You can do that, and that's fine. I'm not going to judge your um, who you are, and that's your path. That's your choice. But what I'm saying is for me with this type of app, this is just not something I'm interested in. I've never been interested in meeting someone on an app and moving forward. I know plenty of people who have done it. I have people in my life who have met people on apps and it's gone well. People who met people on apps and they've gotten married. People who met people on apps and it's been crazy. But I'm not interested in doing that.
But
I am
what I just
old school.
what I
I
just heard
want
from you.
to interact with you in the real world. You are a person. I am a person. I'm not, it's just not my deal, buddy.
Okay, what I just heard from you though is that you said you are a faith loving person. You're a God loving person, and because of that, you would not participate in a purely
I
sexual
don't believe, no, I
relationship
don't, because
with multiple partners.
for me, I don't believe in just sex for sex purposes. That's just not my ideal. But that
But
doesn't
it
mean
sounded
that
like
I'm
you were
judging other
insinuating
people
you're
for
judging people.
doing
It
that.
kind of sounded like you were. Like you were saying that people that would engage in multiple partners and using this app are not religious. It sounds like you're saying that. And
I can't
good.
speak to what they are. I'm not saying that. That's not what I said. You're trying to put words in my mouth.
I would
What I
never.
said,
I'm
yes,
just
you
trying
would.
to break it down. What?
No, you just try to make this just hard because you like doing this. We've known each other long enough for me to know this whole path that we're going down right now, and we're not. I'm stopping it. So essentially, what I'm saying is, I don't know what their belief system is. I just know based on mine, I'm not going to do certain actions, and that's just that.
Okay. And
Period. And stop.
for our audience members that don't know me too well, I would like to say that because I am an atheist, I'm always going to take any opportunity I can to tie our conversation back to religion, back to God, and try to make my case. So just just to let you know.
Like I said, in this life, it's always good to have goals. So, are you saying that you would do this? Like you said that you would try this out? You're interested in this?
I think I would. I think I would. I think I'm going to do it, and I'm going to report back to you on this. I'm going to report back to our audience on this.
So, are you comfortable sharing the structure that you would participate in? Like you were talking about different.
I think I would participate in male, female, female. Me being the male, or
Got
male,
it.
female, female, female.
So, three women and you?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Again, for anyone who's listening to this and knows me, I wish you could see my face. Um,
So what I'm
okay.
gonna do is I'm gonna try this out and see what it's like, see what the environment is like. I'm not necessarily gonna go through with, the whole process to the end, but I am gonna start exploring it, and I'm gonna report back to you and our audience every every week.
Now, okay. We don't have to do this every week. Let's okay. Do we have to have some episodes where there's not an E? Like
Okay,
for real.
okay,
Okay, so let's try that. Can
okay,
we try that,
sure,
please?
sure.
Um, and the other thing is, is this for real or is this just like you trying to mess with me? Like, is this really an app?
It's called Field, FEELD. It I believe it started in 2014 or 2015. So, and I'm just reading about some current news about uh uh Woody Allen. Anyway, that's a whole
Actually,
other.
let's go into the news part. That's a good segue because Woody Allen, yeah, that was a long time ago. Okay, so what about Woody Allen?
Well, it was about Woody Allen attending an event related to Field, but I didn't
Oh,
want
that's
to.
interesting.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. That is very interesting. Um, but speaking of Woody Allen, he what do you think about his relationship? I mean, what? So
With his stepchild? With the
yes.
stepdaughter?
Now it seems to be that so many people have accepted that as normal in the celebrity world, and it boggles my mind because it sounds so perverse, so fucked up. Uh, but somehow it seems to be accepted in that community. It
I
doesn't
think
make
it's hilarious to me. Oh, I'm sorry. Finish up what you were saying.
Yeah, go ahead.
Are you done?
Yeah.
Okay. I just think it's funny that you just talked about this app and then you said that Woody Allen is perverse. I
What think about
so
there's a big difference. There's a big I can't believe you're conflating the two. That really hurts my feelings. To to think that wow, Robbie. You just
okay, I'm talking about the app in of itself. However you took what I said, that's on you. You can't sit up here and tell me that based upon all of the different permutations that you said can happen on this app and the different types of,
well, not with
flavors of
your
sex that
stepchild
can be in there, that you're not going to find at least one or two perverts messing around in that app. Like, come on.
that's a speculation. I can't say.
Okay. All right. Again, my face. So, I agree with you on the Woody Allen thing. I think it's ridiculous. I think it's gross. I think it violates the whole, particularly now when people are talking about blended families, like and if people, you know, have gotten married and they've gotten divorced and they have kids and they blend their families and they, they have step
Yeah.
relationships,
Oh yeah.
and that's happened more and more. The idea that this was okay is just like crazy. It was
Why
never
would it
okay.
be accepted
And
though?
I
Why?
don't know if it, I think that I don't know why it was accepted, but then there are so many other things that were not. And it just lends itself to these double standards that are out there for a
Exactly.
variety of different things. But
Yeah.
I always thought that it was out of bounds and just out of bounds and I mean, for lack of a better term, just totally inappropriate.
Yeah.
That's just, I mean, that was his stepdaughter.
Yeah.
That's gross,
Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't make. It's Yeah. It's disturbing. It's
And
disturbing that he would do that, and number two, that is even today accepted. After there's been this whole Me Too movement that you're not hearing any backlash about this even to this day.
well, I just think that's just because he's not really relevant anymore. Right? I think that there's a lot to the fact that he's just not. People know who he is, they know what he did, and they feel like it was a long time ago. And he's just not. He's not out there making movies like he did. Movies don't have the same impact like they used to. He's not in the public space at the same level that he was. So I
Okay.
think that that has a lot to do with the reason why there's just not a lot of communication around it. But I would think that there are many people who think like us and think it's just ridiculous, particularly nowadays. If you kind of bring forward what happened then into the world now, as I mentioned, with all these people who have blended families and this. I mean,
Yeah.
that's just like, no, that's what people are afraid of when they do blend families. Some fool
Yeah.
like Woody
Right.
Allen.
Right. And what's unfortunately is very prevalent, and yeah, it's not acceptable typically, but for some reason there are exceptions.
I know, it's crazy. So, okay. Um, there was something else I think you wanted to talk about in the news. Was there? Wasn't
There
there?
was, I wanted to talk about this bullshit rule that the Amazon CEO is implementing starting January 2025. I am
Oh,
a big, big advocate of working from home five
mm-hmm.
days a week.
Okay.
And I think that in this day and age, any CEO that thinks it cannot be done successfully is a complete fucking idiot and doesn't deserve to be the CEO of their company.
Oh my goodness. So, did you see? I thought this was really interesting. So, I saw that he said recently, I know he put this out, but and it's the CEO of the cloud part, like Amazon Cloud,
Yeah,
AWC, AWS. Um, so he recently said that he quote unquote talked to people and that the majority of people said that they were fine with it. And
that's,
then he also said,
that's
but what
complete
else would
bullshit.
they tell him though? But what else would they tell him? They're not
Oh,
going to
that's true.
tell
Yeah,
him,
that's true.
oh
Yeah,
yeah, I'm fine. I'm not fine with this. He's the CEO. He put the
right.
rule in place. Of course they're going to tell him that. They're not going to tell him the truth. Number
That's
one.
true. That's true.
Number two, they said that when like I guess interviewed anonymously, 77% of the people said that they would look for another job. And
Yeah.
then he went out and said, if you don't want to do this, go find another job. So I think it's going to
Mhm.
be interesting to see what the numbers end up actually looking like. Like, are they going to be impactful enough to really make a dent? Because he's making a hard line that
Yeah.
everybody, all Amazon MFs are coming back. If you're in this, you're coming back to work 5 days a week. That's it. No more work from home. Amazon is going to be a place where they collaborate. But
Well,
underneath all of this, I still think that a lot of this has to do with the shadow commercial real estate concerns that are in the country.
You think so?
Because all these buildings are empty.
Yeah.
Many of these buildings are empty. I mean, there are some that are not, like in certain parts of the country. But, and if you
Yeah.
don't have like a big old company like an Amazon and you have a smaller company, I think you're mandating that people go back. But there's a lot of places where people are not at work. And so that, and these companies like Amazon and Google and all these places, they have these big leases and these big contracts.
Yeah, you're right.
So I do think there's some of that
Yeah.
that is
And
a
the
part of
same
this.
guy, what's his name? His name's what's his name? The CEO of AWS.
Andy something. They're all Andys.
CEO of Amazon is Andy Jassy.
Hmm.
But the CEO of Amazon Web Services is Matt Garman.
Oh, okay.
And he was making some excuse, saying that, well, I don't think that, I think he was the one that was saying this. It was one of the two. I think it was Garmin that was saying this, that uh, if we want to be effective, we want to actually, be able to achieve our goals. We need to meet in person. And what are you, a fossil? What, you've never heard of video conference? And what century are we living in here? Is it the 1990s again? I don't understand.
Well, I think that here's the one thing I will say. You know, when we were talking about the last couple podcasts ago with Bert, and we were talking about men and kind of like, how men are reverting a bit, and there's a lot of men, and particularly younger men, who don't know what to do and are having a hard time finding themselves.
Hmm.
And just being in front of the screen and being at home, I think that it does help them when they are going to work and interacting with people. And I do think that sometimes even, for myself, going in or going an offsite or doing something and going in the office a couple times, um, it does help in terms of camaraderie. And I think as human beings, we are social creatures. We want community. And we're always trying to build that online and then take it in the real world, which is, again, like I said, just do it in the real world. But that's me, right? So again, I just think that there's there's some there's actually a point to this in terms of having people come back in, but the whole like 5 days a week mandate, like, I'm dropping the hammer on you, that's not going to, I mean, people, there are going to be a lot of people looking for work. Like
Well,
there's just everybody's going to be looking for, there's going to be a lot of people that be like, F that, like, don't talk to me that way because the environment's
yeah,
different.
yeah. And you said it's the anonymous polls show that 77% of people said they'll be looking for other jobs, right? Now,
Yeah.
if you got those kind of numbers, think about 77% of the workforce has one foot out the door.
I
That makes,
know.
I mean, that right there is what's going to diminish your productivity, diminish your ability to achieve your goals.
I mean, that is not
Matt,
good. That is not good, dude. I
yeah,
hope he read that. Like, I hope he's taking it seriously and not thinking that that's not true, and that the people telling him to his face that they think it's okay is true because they're just doing it to buy time,
yeah, and there you go. And it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? And
right?
Andy Jassy is making his company be unproductive. He's making it happen by doing this.
I know, because people are going to be looking for jobs during the workday.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that all falls out, because I feel like if he's going to go hardcore on it, right? And it does happen, and let's say 77% of the people don't leave, or only a certain percent where it's not really materially effective to the customer, I mean, to the company and their bottom line, then it might push other companies to do the same thing. I think many companies are looking to see how this is all going to pan out.
Hmm. Well,
So
it's gonna be good for them to be able to see how it pans out. You're right.
I keep yawning, people. So if you're hearing me, I'm sorry. We're taping this late. It's not because I think Steven's boring. I'm just tired.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. You know what? I have not been following any Diddy things. I've exhausted myself on Diddy for a while. Plus, plus, did you hear about his third try was turned down for bail? He tried to
No,
do
I
it
didn't hear
again.
that. No,
Yeah, and this new judge said no too. So technically he's going to be in jail until May of 2025. Do you think he's going to last? That's my question to you, Stephen.
I think he's going to be using a lot of baby oil in jail. Let me tell you, a lot of
Okay.
it, a lot of it.
Oh my God. I don't know if he's gonna last. Also, too, I don't know. Like someone said that he might try to settle or something. So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, what you explained to me last time, he's got a lot of names, and if he's willing to give up names, which I really wouldn't put, I mean, I wouldn't put it past him in order to get a lower sentence, a lesser sentence. We'll see how that pans out.
We will see how it pans out. So I also heard that there are rumors that Kamala Harris is gonna go on Joe Rogan.
Really?
That would be
Wow.
on a whole nother level if she did that.
Yeah. I, you
I
know, I
mean, I love his podcast. I can't believe though 10 million to 11 million downloads for every freaking episode. That is so crazy.
That's incredible. That's we're
Hmm
almost there too.
Yes, David. Almost. Oh my God. No, that's funny. Um, so I think so that I feel like that'll be interesting. If that happens within the next week, that'll be definitely something that I want
Yeah,
to talk about.
yeah.
And you will have to listen to that. Are you
I
ever
will.
going to listen to any podcasts? Just let's be
Robbie,
honest.
it is absolutely the next thing on my to-do list.
Hmm
It is. It is.
It is. We
Yep.
will
Gonna get.
see. We shall see. Well, I think that wraps it up. We're at 40 minutes. Last week we went a really long time, so we're gonna keep
This
it up
time
to
just
what our
flies.
normal. What were we gonna say? Huh?
The time just flies. 40 minutes already. It's just
I
I feel like
know.
not enough time.
I know. We have a good amount of time. We have a good amount of time. I think it's good. Okay, well, this is it, everyone. This is another episode of Miscellaneous Candor. Frank, honest, and otherwise outspoken. I'm Robbie. Be sure to like, follow, subscribe. Give us reviews. Let us know what you think. Please write some reviews,
We'd
good,
love to hear.
bad, or otherwise. Yes, Steven, what are we going to say?
So we'd love to hear from our audience.
We would. All right. Thank you. Have a good one.
Thanks, everyone.